Så där, då är klockan någon minut över 9 till och med, så att Jessica Granat heter jag och jobbar på AC och sitter på vår marknadsavdelning. Vi har bjudit in Harry från Autodesk som kommer att ta oss igenom dagens webbinar. Och är det så att ni har några frågor under tiden så får ni gärna ställa dem i chatten och så tar vi och samlar upp alltihopa på slutet. Som vi också skrev i inbjudan så kommer det här webbinariet att hållas på engelska i och med att Harry sitter i England. Så med det sagt så I will hand over to you, Harry, to let the show begin.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not sure how much of a show it will be with me talking at everyone for 30 minutes or so, but hopefully it'll be interesting and engaging for you as we go through. So yeah, my name's Harry O Neill. I am one of the regional sales managers for InfoDrainage, now Autodesk Water Infrastructure. I'm responsible for our go-to-market with the UK customers and the Nordics. I also look after Greece as well for Autodesk. So today I'm going to be running through just I've introduced myself, and then I'm going to do a quick introduction to Autodesk Water as a division within Autodesk, and what challenges and industry trends we are addressing and what our solutions are that we have on offer. And I'm going to run through a quick water solutions overview. So I'm going to just cover a few slides on each solution area that we have with our products, with a focus on drainage design as a good sort of entry point into our Autodesk Water products. And then we'll offer some time at the end for any questions that you may have and next actions if anyone wants to talk further or arrange something as a follow-up to look through these solutions. We can do that. So very quickly then, just as Autodesk Direct, obviously you have the wonderful team at AEC to support you as well. But in terms of Autodesk Water, you can see the team that's on screen there, and we're built in a way that we have solution engineers who are experts in a particular field. So you can see each of them has a specialist area. So we have drainage design, water distribution or clean water. We've got asset management, and we've got storm sewer flood specialist capabilities across our solution engineer team. So we can introduce you to those guys to support you with any workflows or processes you may want to look at. And we also have Karen, who is in an innovation role. So she's spent a lot of time with water utilities in the UK. So most recently, before joining Autodesk, she worked for Southern Water in the UK within the compliance team. Really knowledgeable person, has a great knowledge of the water industry and is providing some value to our customers as we talk to them about their processes and how they're completing water projects. So why are we here? Why are we on a webinar presenting about our solutions? Well, there's a few reasons. Some will be familiar, I'm sure. But the first one to talk about is, of course, I've mentioned the name InfoDrainage a couple of times already since starting this presentation, and InfoDrainage was acquired back in 2021 by Autodesk. So as I say, we are now Autodesk Water Infrastructure, rebranded to that as a division within Autodesk. But this acquisition was over $1 billion back in 2021, and it shows Autodesk's commitment and intent to provide the best water portfolio in terms of software solutions to the market, and to support our engineering customers and offer a more rounded workflow in terms of design and engineering technology. Of course, something else you'll be seeing a lot of, this is a trend globally, but if we talk in terms of Europe and some of the projects that we'll be working on, there's a demand for more and more parts of our projects to become digital. So we saw back in 2015, 2016, when BIM was really introduced and started to be mandated across projects. And this is something that's happening more now across engineering projects for infrastructure, as we see our regulating bodies, particularly in the UK as well. We're seeing a lot of requirement to show 3D representation of SUDs on new build schemes for housing or for offices or industrial projects, and also to be able to offer an audit trail of how we've calculated and accounted for climate change. It included a 40% increase in rainfall or deluge areas that we might see across the region. And the last thing that feeds quite nicely into, I've mentioned about climate change, and I have another slide in a second, is sustainability. So a big trend we're seeing is it depends on how you refer to it, but SUDs in the UK and quite a broadly used term, but also lids or whatever it might be, however you refer to it. But we're seeing green infrastructure, blue-green infrastructure, and more sustainable ways of designing and delivering projects. Last year we saw our first customer deliver a carbon positive development, which was a really interesting case study to work on and to see some examples of how they're working with our solutions. But in terms of sustainability, some of the, as I mentioned earlier, about mandates and some of the regulating authorities and bodies that we have to report into and share our work with. A lot of the focus is around sustainability and how we can deliver projects with accurate data and making sure that they're offering some green and more sustainable solutions for our future. And of course, something that we've all seen a lot of over the past, well, X amount of years, I won't even put a number of years on it, but we've seen an increase in flooding, rainfall. Last summer, we saw a huge amount of storm events that were causing flooding across the whole of the Nordics. And it's causing us to change the way that we work and look at the technology that we use and what we do day to day with our projects. So really is a focus for the region, and it's a trend that we're seeing now, is that many customers are starting to ask, how can we improve what we do today? How can we reduce the number of tools that we're using, but deliver better and more accurate project data so that we can get this demand for additional information out on time and deliver it how it's required. And then just to share some logos here, I'm not going to talk through all of these, but I'm sure you'll recognise some of the names on the screen here that we work with and that use our technology in some capacity. There's lots of water utilities on there. There's lots of large engineering consultants, but also some smaller engineering consultants or municipalities who are working with our software to look at their wet infrastructure, their wet assets, and manage those projects better. So to give you a first glance at the solutions that we have on offer, this is quite a nice slide that shows the complete water cycle and the solution areas that we have available. So if we start from the top left-hand corner, you'll see here we've got stormwater systems. So this is looking at rainwater and the natural systems that we have, and maybe snow melt, those sorts of things within that sort of more natural environment. And we have two products in here that you may have come across before. So we have InfoWorks ICM, which is your hydraulic modeling system to look at your catchment models on a broader scale and to run some really complex simulations and hydraulic analysis on those surfaces. We then have InfoDrainage, which is a drainage design tool. Again, some of you may have come across micro drainage in the past, which is a our legacy tool that was around pre-InfoDrainage, as you'll see in a few slides' time. And that again is as I say, it's a drainage design tool that allows us to review and analyze and also design from scratch those sustainable drainage systems that are going to go into our schemes. If we then come across to source water, we have some cloud-based tools and asset management tools that allow us to look at some of the various wet assets that we have within our network, and also to manage some of the data that's coming through those and allow us to optimize what we are doing day to day. Sorry, my slides gone back. In water and wastewater treatment, if we take these two together on the left and right in the middle, we have a tool which is Imagine, or we have a soon to be a couple of other tools that can support these processes as well, looking at the chemicals and the energy that we use in these treatment plants to allow us to optimize that, but also to monitor what we're doing and compare different treatment water and wastewater treatment sites with one another, and to ultimately ensure that we're using the right amount of chemicals and that we have water that is safe for use. We have some really great case studies. It may not be so applicable to the people on the call today, but we've got some great case studies around water and wastewater treatment coming out of some UK water utilities at the moment, saving a lot of money on energy, and also making sure that they're compliant with the standards for water quality. Down in the bottom right hand corner here, we have tools for water distribution and supply systems. So both of these tools do a very similar thing. One is more tailored with InfoWater, is more tailored towards the use of GIS data, and WS Pro again is they're both very similar tools that look at your hydraulic model for water supply systems, look at pipe bursts and your mains and your various different demand areas to provide water to. And then lastly, again, we come back to InfoWorks ICM and InfoDrainage here, which is looking at our wastewater collection systems, so our sewage systems, and that's taking our wastewater from homes and offices and the various areas, and then modeling those in the same capacity to how we design networks to take those away, but also how we can analyze and get those really detailed analysis of what they do. So then this allows us to place these products into a portfolio that is arguably the best on the market. So if you look at some of the tools that we can interface with in these swim lanes, so we have tools like Civil 3D. So InfoDrainage and Civil 3D have a really nice data exchange between them and a strong integration there. We also have tools like InfraWorks and Recap that allow us to get data and surface data in at the earlier stages of a project. We've of course got the Autodesk Construction Cloud, which just strengthens that kind of build and construction phase. And then we've got the digital twin products with our Info360 tools that I've already mentioned, where we can then look at the ongoing sort of operations and maintenance phase, and the operational analytics with the plant tools that I've already spoken about. Okay, so just to dive into the technology then, so I've just got a couple of slides here on each product set, but to start off with just some high level kind of benefits of what comes with the previously Innovias, now Autodesk Water solutions. So you have the ability to link live data into our models, so we can work with, I've already mentioned GIS, there's various different data input formats that we can take and output formats, and we can connect data with whether it's operators in the field or different live data sources that are coming in, weather data, various different databases that might feed into a model to make that more live experience, so that we're not manually having to go through and refresh and update our model as we go. Something else that that is a really great benefit is the ability to have multiple people working on one model. So with our hydraulic modeling tools, we have the ability to through version controlling and various different data sources, we can offer a centralized database that allows multiple people to be working on one hydraulic model at the same time, whether that's through a local server or through the cloud. And speaking of the cloud, we have some capabilities with now with the software being part of the Autodesk portfolio, and this really strengthens our offering even further. Is we have the ability to host our data within the cloud for our hydraulic models, but also to run our simulations in the cloud. So you can see in the video that's running on the right-hand side of this slide, we have lots of queued storm events and various different simulations that are waiting to run. I'll let that just run for a second. So you can see there the results on these simulations took 6 minutes to run on the cloud, compared to our legacy processes of taking 4 hours approximately to run all of those, either on a local server or on a physical machine, a PC sat in front of you. Okay, so on to drainage design. So I mentioned I've got a few slides just to cover each solution set. So to start, we'll talk about drainage design with the InfoDrainage tool, and really what this is allowing us to do is to adapt to change, but also to move out of the older kind of 2D lines and arcs systems that we saw within the micro drainage tool, which, as I say, was and still is broadly used by a lot of our UK customer base. We have a lot of users. Moving away from that and across to a more green infrastructure and sustainability-led design workflow. So you can see there the window on the bottom right-hand corner is much more graphically led. It's much more familiar to Autodesk users in terms of it looks a little bit more like Civil 3D. You've got your ribbon of tools down the left-hand side, and most importantly, it allows us to design those more important sort of, as I say, green infrastructure elements like ponds and bioretention areas, swales, those sorts of things, and get really detailed as we go with our designs. And talking of adapting to change, there's something else that we've seen across the market is we have lots of customers that we're talking to who are using multiple different design tools, whether it's Civil 3D SSA or some of our competitive products, or even Microsoft Excel on its own, to using just 2 tools with InfoDrainage and Civil 3D and being able to exchange data quickly and easily and not lose any data through the design process with those 2 tools. And I've mentioned it a few times. We're seeing a real industry shift to operating under more sort of green infrastructure and putting these elements into our designs. That doesn't mean there isn't a place for traditional grey pipe and manhole infrastructure within our designs, but as we see more of these biodiversity and water quality and quantity management as we go, that's becoming a real focus for a lot of the schemes we see across Europe, and InfoDrainage allows our customers to do that. So to summarize then, just before we see a couple of videos of it in action, what is InfoDrainage? Well, it's our next generation drainage design tool. So it allows us to define true to site structures. So that's using GIS and surface data and our Civil 3D model to make sure it's as true to the site that we're working on as possible. It allows us to do some really detailed analytics and optimize the structures as we go. So you can see from the screenshots we have a really nice profile view down the bottom here, where we can run our rainfall events, and we can see that hydraulic model working in real time as we go, and we can see where we get flood warnings. But also we have the ability to push out our design data and our approved and reviewed designs as we go. So we can run our own audits, we can do our own testing on the model, and then we can provide proof that we've done those processes at the end of a project. So just a couple of really short videos just to cover off the data exchange with Civil 3D in InfoDrainage. So if I just let this one run, you can see in here we can start our design. So if any of you are Civil 3D users, we see a lot that our customers would like to at least get the start of their model created within Civil 3D. So you can see that's what's happened here. They've got an initial pipe run designed in Civil 3D, and then using the Innovise ribbon or the InfoDrainage ribbon at the top, they've exported the data out to InfoDrainage. You can see that's then loaded within InfoDrainage. So we have that scheme loaded into here, that network, and we can visualize and we can see all of those connections. If I just pause the video, you can see all the different connections, and we get our various different data and our parts mapped automatically across from Civil 3D into InfoDrainage. And then the second and last video that I've got is the ability to import a model back in from InfoDrainage back into Civil 3D. Again, mapping parts and making sure that we've got that full parts list to how we want it for our project loaded in. So you can see that's doing the parts mapping there, opens it up, and then we can hit finish. Then you can see once in InfoDrainage, in this case, we've designed a pond and a bioretention area. We then have the kind of smart objects that pulls into Civil 3D as, so that we can do our 3D orbit and see how that impacts the model in 3D as we're going with our manholes, our drains, our pipes within the rest of the Civil 3D model. Fast forward this on then. So this user has spotted a requirement here to change this pipe here and extend it slightly. So they've changed that within Civil 3D. They're now going to export it back out, and you can see when it loads back into InfoDrainage, we have that created and updated there. So we have that data exchange going back and forth between InfoDrainage and Civil 3D. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the other two core solutions that we have before I stop and allow you guys to ask some questions. So the first of the products that I'm going to talk about in the wider portfolio is InfoWorks ICM. So again, some of you may be familiar with this as a hydraulic modeling tool for storm and wastewater. So there's some short videos here that will run, but you can see here this allows us to basically as a first glance here, we're getting a rainfall event dropped onto this more urban area. We get our profile view, and we can see our rainfall graph down in the bottom right hand corner there. And what this is allowing us to do is basically represent the kind of man-made and natural drainage features that we have within our catchment area. And we can also drop in any suds or lids features as we go as well. We have our surface data. We've got the 1D, 2D model working together, so we can see how they impact one another as we're running that rainfall event. And then on the plan view on the map, we get our velocity arrows, and we can see the direction of flow and where we might want to put in flood defences and those sorts of things as we go. So this shows just the capability within InfoWorks ICM to get really detailed with our terrain and with the mesh that we want to create. So we can vary in different zones. So on flat areas, we can use bigger triangles to create our mesh because it's maybe a more generic surface. And then on some of the more detailed areas, we can get really granular with with our mesh and make sure it's as accurate as possible. So this just allows us to get that kind of holistic view of the network before we start throwing any rainfall or flood events onto those. One of the key things that's being looked at a lot at the moment globally is the impact of pollution and looking at water quality. So we can look at things like combined sewer overflows, but we can also have a look at water quality within rivers. We have the same within InfoDrainage, where we can look at maybe the impact of putting different filtration systems at the bottom of a swale or a pond for as water drains away to provide that better quality of water going back into our networks. So again, that's something, just looking at spills and the locations of those and trying to identify areas that we might have worse water quality than others. Again, that's a kind of a focus area for InfoWorks ICM and what we can do with the software. That slide, I don't know why that's just run away from me, those two GIFs, but essentially we can automate some workflows as well. So it's something that was mentioned on an earlier slide, that we can create scripts to run automated workflows. So we could say, at 10 p.m. every night, open up the models that are in a particular folder and run a hydraulic a rainfall event on them to see what the impact is, so that I can come in the next day and have my results ready for me. We can also run automated workflows for manual tasks and various different things that we're doing day to day that become laborious, that we don't want to be doing. So there is the ability to automate within ICM as well. Okay, and then the last section before I go, as I say, before I stop talking, I'm sure you've heard enough of me talking by now, so I'll get through these last few slides. So just into clean water modeling. So a very similar tool to ICM in terms of the capabilities with the hydraulics and the various simulations that we can run. But as you can imagine, this is for clean water within our networks. So this allows us to look at where we invest our money. We can have a look at various things, like if we have a surge or a transient event that happens, closing various different valves, or if we have a pipe burst or leakage, something like that, to see where that's happening and what the impact is on the wider network. And as I say, where we need to prioritize our investment and our work orders. Again, with that focus on water quality, we can have a look at where we're meeting regulations. So we can have a look at the water moving through the network from various different pumping stations. We can have a look at sort of discolor or predict discoloration events. And we can see the distance that water has to travel and the age of the water as it goes through the network, and make sure again that we're meeting regulations and the requirements that are put on us for managing that network effectively. So we get customer-centric results as well. So it allows us to put in some kind of critical data around the type of customers that we're serving with our water, and to ensure that that service levels are where we want them to be. So we can have a look at pressure. We can have live data coming in as well to feed into this. So we might have various pieces of sensor data that come into our system to push that forwards. But also, as it says on the slide there, we can get results for individual customers and really connect this into our asset network as well, and our asset management system, so that we can make sure we're serving customers as best as possible. And then again, very similar to we just saw with ICM, we do have the ability to run some scripts and create some automated tasks and workflows, so that we don't have to keep repeating our work with manual runs. So here you can see that's created some automated tasks there, and it goes and then it will run through some actions for you and give you the results, and allow you to do the interpretation of results rather than doing the manual clicking of buttons to get those to show in the first place. Okay, that was all I was going to show today. We have just to make you aware as a kind of next step onwards, and maybe we'll cover this in a future webinar. We do have some live modeling tools. So these allow us to look at operational insights, so we can run proactive maintenance on our models. We have some really cool case studies around this using live weather data, so we can see a 7-day weather forecast, load that into the system automatically on a repeat cycle, see what we're predicting the rainfall events to be, and then we can plan accordingly with our flood responses and those sorts of things as we go. And that was all I had for you today. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for watching and for listening to me talk for the best part of 30 minutes. And yeah, more than happy to open up for any questions now.
So there is no questions in the chat, but maybe someone will reach out directly. So please do.
In the meanwhile, I can take some questions that we've gotten before the webinar here. So one of them is, do all the Autodesk water products have the ability to exchange data between each other?
Okay, yeah, nice question. Yeah, so we have the ability for, if I take, for example, a customer of ours that's using InfoDrainage and ICM. So the short answer is yes, there is the ability to exchange data and to work together with those. The example I was going to give is a customer we have who uses InfoDrainage to create their different options for a SUDS network, for example, that they might want to create on a scheme. Once they have that finalized SUDS network within InfoDrainage, they then load that InfoDrainage into the wider catchment model within InfoWorks ICM. So there's the ability to just directly load that in there, and then they can continue working on that and run a whole catchment analysis with that InfoDrainage model loaded in. I've also shown on those slides that there's the ability to interact with Civil 3D with InfoDrainage. There is the same for ICM, so ICM can work with a Civil 3D model to load it in. And yeah, there's various integrations that exist to allow you to work with all of the Autodesk products together.
Great. And now we got one question in the chat. Do you support IFC format?
So IFC, it depends on what the intended use is for it. For IFC, we tend to see customers pull the IFC model into Civil 3D and work on that initially to get the data in, and then export it out to InfoDrainage. We do have some customers testing that workflow at the moment in various different conversions. I don't think InfoDrainage can open an IFC model directly itself, but it's something I can take away and certainly ask the question on. If you want to have a look at that further as well, we can take that one offline.
Good. Just ask more questions. In meanwhile, I have some more that we got them before, so I will keep on with them. The rainfall standards, can that be adapted to local rainfall standard in InfoDrainage, or is it just UK's?
Yes, yeah. So yeah, another good question. So it's something we get asked a lot. So by default within the software, we have the UK standards. There's quite a few others loaded in there. We do have the ability though to create, so you can load in what would be deemed a custom rainfall standard though, and you can create that as a template so that every time you work on a local project, then when you go to run your storm event or your rainfall event, you then just load in or open your template there. So yes, there is the ability to use local rainfall standards.
Great. And we have a hand raised.
Yeah, hi. It's like two-part question. Is it like an extra add-on to Civil 3D, or do you have to apply separately to, I mean, how does it work?
Correct. Yeah, in terms of the software package, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's as when Autodesk acquired Innovise, those products became their own products available via subscription. So there would be add-on tools, if you like, or that they sit as their own subscription products. So you can purchase them as a standalone product, or yeah, you could purchase them as a subscription to work alongside Civil 3D, however you want to work. So yeah, they are separate Autodesk applications.
Okay, and then second part was to how would you say that InfoDrainage was like more sort of pre-design, and then you like sort of do a detailed design in Civil 3D, or what is the idea behind it? I mean,
it's a bit of both, really. Some people use it for a sort of a preliminary design tool to kind of get that initial layout in there and run some you kind of see your blue-green corridors and deluge areas and storage capacities, those sorts of things. Most customers use it in the other way round, as Civil 3D is kind of the pre-design phase tool, and then once you have your initial site layout, you push that into InfoDrainage to get the really detailed pipe networks and ponds, bioretention areas, everything you need in there, and then you run your hydraulic analysis on that within InfoDrainage, and then you can export that back out to Civil 3D once it's complete. So it's quite versatile in terms of how you want to work, but yeah, most people use InfoDrainage as the detailed design tool.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Good questions. Feel free to ask more, but in the meanwhile, we have a poll, just how you come across our webinar. So I will start that one, but keep asking questions in the meanwhile, so we run that in the background. I have one more question that we gotten before, so we can take that one on the meet, or we got one in the chat. No. Okay, I take this one then. What do you see are the benefits of using InfoDrainage over tools like Civil 3D, SSA, and Trimble, NovaPoint, and others?
Okay. So I think, well, it comes back really to the point we were just in the question we had, the last one really, the ability to, I think above everything else, the ability to exchange between Autodesk tools is, there's no loss of data there, and it's a much more streamlined workflow between the two. I think if I talk about I'll do it in the context of talking about customers we've met with recently who are using the tools you've just mentioned, so NovaPoint and some of the others. The real area of interest has come from just the level of detail that comes out of InfoDrainage. So we're not just looking at an initial model with pipes in it. We're doing really detailed and accurate hydraulic simulations and analysis that allow us to do everything within one tool set. So we're not needing to switch between multiple tools. The one customer that I was with last week in Copenhagen was talking about they use, I think, 5 different design tools to create a drainage design scheme. So the main benefit for them is to consolidate that down into one tool that supports Civil 3D. They already have Civil 3D through their AEC collections, so it really worked well for them. And in terms of the projects they deliver, yeah, they did a 3-week adoption sprint, as we call it, to start working in the software as like a trial period, and it worked really well for them, and they got some very accurate results out of it.
Nice. And we have a hand raised, Thomas.
Yeah. Hi, Harry. Do you offer training courses either online, or are there any actually site located offices that may offer training courses? And secondly, is there follow-on support that's available for people who are using the software and need some assistance?
Yes. So yeah. So to take the first question. So we have as a starting point, we have a free e-learning course that's been created for all of our products. So on our Autodesk Customer Success Hub, there's a 5 hours worth of content on there, which has some demo content in there as well for a drainage design scheme, so that you can follow along as you're learning. There are face-to-face courses available as well, typically delivered via Teams if required. In terms of technical support, yeah, there's ongoing support available as well, so you do get access to the kind of basic Autodesk technical support if you need, if there's an issue with serial numbers and stuff, the things you would expect. But then there is also the more detailed technical support with our Innovyze specialists, that you can have access to them to ask any questions or log on to a Teams call to support you as you're going as well. It's something that over time I would imagine AEC will be able to support with as they go, but as it's quite a new product set to the portfolio, it's something that we're still supporting direct as much as we can to make sure that you stay up and running.
Is there any more questions? So please feel free. No, everything seems crystal clear.
Great.
So I think we will close this webinar now, and I thank you all for attending. And as you know, we have recorded it, and we will put it on the YouTube channel, and I will send it out as well, so you can go back and see if there is something special you would like to see again. And you are always welcome to contact us if you have any questions afterwards, and you will find all our contacts on our website, aec.se. So feel free to reach out to us whenever you want to. And I wish you all a nice day, and thank you very much, and hope to see you soon again.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.